Hey everybody. I'm just watching baltmatrix's review on the whole situation as far as used games go and the fees and all that. And I want to correct him on one thing. The proposed fee is £35, basically around $53 when you try to put it onto your game. That's the fee you put it onto your system and install it. That's the fee you got to pay. So like baltmatrix says, you know, basically on top of that $53 fee, if you will, on top of that $53 fee, like he used an example, let's say you pay $50 with tax or not with tax for the used game. Now he said, and I guess he's better at the math than I am, basically GameStop or a store like GameStop would only get $5 worth of that sale. That's about it. They'd only get about $5, maybe $10, depending on how much you sell it for. Now, essentially, he said one thing that I think a lot of people are saying and agreeing with, that Microsoft has essentially killed any opportunity at there being used games for this generation of consoles. And that is obviously could be true, unless they fix something. But here's what's going to happen, though.
It does indeed go as a hit, so 8 hits now for the Astros.
Hold on for a second. Here's what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of people. Now, no doubt they're going to go out and they're going to buy the new systems just to have them there. Just to have them there and all that. They're just going to have them there. Well, here's the thing. Games like this, right here, now, this all depends on what the PS4 deals with in the next few days or something. It all depends on what the PS4 does. And that's my dog in the background. Well, like I said, it all depends basically on what Sony announces for the PS4. It all depends on what they do. And they have acknowledged that PS4 is going to have some kind of backwards compatibility. In other words, something's got to do. It deals with something that's online or something like that. I'm not really sure, but it will have backwards compatibility for PS3 in some way. The used game thing we may not find out until the next few weeks at E3. Now speaking of such, depending on what they do with used games, because they say it's up to the publisher. And I'm sure the publishers are not going to have a problem with that, because they're going to be like, hey, it makes us more money when a game is resold again, even if it's used. Well, here's what's going to happen because of this entire situation. You got a game like this on the 360. The 360 games are going to sell more than the Xbox One games. That's a fact. A game like this, like Mortal Kombat Complete Edition,
Johnson, who is almost behind the catcher, he can see the outside corner.
A game like that essentially will sell more. A 360 game will sell more than a used Xbox One game. And here's why. Here's why it'll sell more. Here's why it'll sell more. Alright? It's because people are not going to want to have to deal with having to pay $50 for a game, or $35, depending on what they pay for, and then basically being charged $52, essentially in one day having to spend $100-something or close to that just to play, a used Xbox One game. Just to play a used Xbox One game. They are not going to want to do that. And, that is an obvious fact. And not a lot of people are going to be happy about that. And I'm not going to be surprised if Microsoft gets a lot of backlash on this. I think Alpha Omega Sin said it best. He said that essentially all Microsoft is doing is encouraging people to go out, buy the system, and freaking modify it so it will be backwards compatible. Have backwards compatibility. It will be able to play used games without charging a fee. And, he's right. They're going to do that. People can do that. The one guy that James Wolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd, pointed out one time during one of his episodes a couple years ago, when he did the Jaguar CD, the Jaguar review. He was talking about the Jaguar CD. This one guy that he talked about creates and modifies games into working systems at work. He basically took a Super Nintendo, a Nintendo, an Atari, a Genesis, and all that, and essentially turned it into the Genatari. If you get what I'm saying. And if you don't think people like that guy are going to look at the Xbox One and say, it's no big deal to modify. By the time I'm done with it, it will be backwards compatible. Don't think they don't know that? Well, they do. Don't think users know that? Don't think he doesn't know that? He does, and I'm sure Microsoft knows it as well. All they do is set themselves up. Now, unless they have some kind of system encoded, knowing Microsoft, they just may. If they have some kind of system encoded that states that basically, causes your system to completely shut down, or even alerts, and this would be crazy, even alerts Microsoft of any kind that, somebody's messing with the console, they're modifying it, and knowing Microsoft, they might just have something like that, then yeah, Microsoft has pretty much said, hey, you're going to be stuck doing what we want you to do. And here's why. Like I said, the 360s games the used 360 games are going to sell more. Alright? Here's a couple of things that are going to happen, in my opinion. Let's say GameStop's one of the companies, and obviously they will be, that will agree to these terms. GameStop is not going to be happy with having to pay, with having only getting 10%. They're thinking, wait a minute, we're selling these games for $50, or $49, or $45, or even $60, and yet we're only getting $5 of the cut? I don't think so. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to say, hey, if we have to get $5, then fine. We'll show Microsoft. We'll show them. We'll put the games that they would normally, retail-wise, when they're new, and when they're recently new and released, which are charged for maybe $59, $69, we'll say, or $60, $70, they'll be like, we know what to do. We'll charge half of that. Yeah. So in other words, let's say somebody turns in and trades in Destiny, if you will, for the Xbox One. And Destiny originally sold for $70. Here's what's going to happen. If GameStop wants to send a message to Microsoft that, hey, give us more percentage for these used games, they're going to freaking sell that thing or resell it for $35 to $40. Excuse me. Sorry about that, folks. It's a Memorial Day weekend, so you know you're bound to get a lot of people. But like I said, though, you know, GameStop, they're going to say, hey, we want more of a percentage. And I'm sure it's going to be with the other places. And they're going to say, unless you give us a better percentage, we'll sell these games for $35. And you know Microsoft's going to be like, well, wait a minute. Usually you sell them for a lot more than that. Why are you selling them for almost the price of a GameCube game or whatever? And they'll be like, because you guys aren't giving us the percentage we deserve. Here we are busting our butts reselling these games for you. And yet, all you're doing is giving us 10%. That's not fair. So I guarantee you something like that could happen. Or two, what's going to happen is the 360 Slims or the 360 consoles, along with the games, they're going to outsell the Xbox One. And, you know, Microsoft's going to, and if that happens, Microsoft be like, why is our Xbox One selling so poorly? It's got all these great features. It's got these games. And then it's going to hit them, oh crap. The 360 allows people to download, Xbox One and Xbox 360 games. Oh crap. We need to fix that. And they're going to. See, those are some of the things that could happen. Those are some of the things that could happen. You know, because essentially, when you think about it, you're possibly paying a fee of $53. On top of that, you're buying a game that could be between $35 and $50, a used game. In a sense, you'd be paying altogether more for that used game than you would be paying for a new game, or for if you were to buy it new. And you know what? That's all part of Microsoft's plan. Essentially, they're basically saying, hey, you don't want to have to be given that extra fee. Guess what? Buy the freaking game new. Go to the Walmarts. Go to the Targets. Go to the GameStops. Go to the Toys R Us. Wherever. Buy the game brand new. So essentially, basically what they're saying is, hey, pay the $69 or hopefully they'll do $50. They'll keep it at $59. Pay the $59 to $69, basically the $60 to $70 for the game, and that way all you have to do is just install it, and you won't have to worry about no fee. The only positive about this is if you have multiple accounts in the same household that's on that console, they'll still be able to play the game without no problem. But the fact of the matter is, this Microsoft's used game scenario or plan possibly is going to backfire in their faces, because essentially what they're saying is buy the game brand new. Now I know some people might say, well, you know what, Brian? They have a good point. You know, we should pay brand new. Yeah. You want to pay, $120 for 2 games? Or let's say on one day, on one game release day, you have Destiny. You have the anticipated Destiny coming out. Let's say you're a UFC fan, you have EA UFC. Let's say you're a WWE fan, you got the new WWE 2K14. You got that new Quake games they're talking about. You got that new Forza 5 they're talking about. You got all these games. Let's say you can have all these games coming out at the same time. Let's say you have an Xbox One version for Disney Infinity. You have all these games coming out at the same time, on the same day. And you're thinking, oh, I want to get these games. But guess what? You can't get them because they cost too much. The only thing that Microsoft can do to save themselves from having the entire world against them, the entire world of gamers against them, the only thing they can do, ladies and gentlemen, is reduce the price of the new retail games. That's all they can do. That's all they can do. They have to basically either keep it at that $59, $60 range or reduce it to the $49, $50 range. That way, it'll make up for them basically, as a lot of people put it, ruining the used game scenarios. Because people do not like that. They don't. They don't like this idea. Heck, I don't like it, and I like Xbox. I like my Xbox 360. I want to probably go out and buy an Xbox One when it comes out. Maybe even a PS4. And a Wii U. And eventually I'll probably have all 3 systems. But like I said, to me, this is just ridiculous on Microsoft's part. I mean, essentially, you're basically saying, hey, you don't want to have to pay the possible $53 fee or £35 fee, along with how much you pay for that game. Guess what? Buy it brand new. That's essentially the same. Basically, GameStop and any other gaming store that makes most of the profits, not just on the newer games and the accessories and stuff they sell, but on the used games for all consoles. Basically, they're telling them, hey, you better stick to selling newer games than used games. And again, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come out of this. 2, like I said, 1, Xbox 360 console sales. Excuse me for a second. I am so sorry about that, folks. She called back. Basically, we're going to do me and my family will do Memorial Day barbecue at my sister's here in town. But like I said, you know, essentially what's going to happen is the Xbox 360 sales are going to go up. The console sales, the games sales are going to go up. You know, and or either this GameStop and other game companies are going to say, hey, you don't want to give us a good percentage, we're just going to sell them for a lot less than what you sold them new, or what you retailed them for new. Because like I said, essentially, they're basically paying more altogether for a used game than you would if you bought it new. And that's basically, I think, the message Microsoft is sending. They're basically saying, hey, you want to play this game? You don't want to have a fee? Buy it new. So yeah, it's ridiculous, but that's apparently what they want to have happen. But let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to you all.